morning show right here on the Rise News channel. The leadership of the Christian Association of Nigeria has been kicking against the newly signed Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, which was recently assented by the President Muhammadu Buhari after 2 years of deliberation by the House of Representatives. The association says it might consider a legal option against the federal government if the controversial Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020 is not amended. Meanwhile, the House of Representatives have faulted the Christian Association of Nigeria for criticizing the legislation after it had been passed by the National Assembly and received presidential assent. The House therefore urged the Christian body to approach the National Assembly for an amendment to the CAMA 2020 Act. So joining us now to have a discussion around this is Achike Chude, civil society activist and spokesperson for African Cultural Heritage. Welcome to the program. It's a pleasure talking to you. I'd just like to start this way and say, what is the problem around this CAMA Act and the Christian Association of Nigeria? In fact, we're supposed to have them here yesterday, but a spokesperson for them, a representative of the Christian Association of Nigeria, but he couldn't make it on the show. What is really going on?
Well, with regards to this CAMA law that has been signed in, by the president, I think we should break it into two parts: the good CAMA and the bad CAMA. The good CAMA obviously is the one that has been acknowledged by business people, the business community, as very beneficial to their business interests. You know, of course, the government for a long time has been talking about the ease of doing business. And so this aspect of CAMA, I think the CAMA law addresses some of these issues. You know, it's about how small businesses, startup businesses can thrive. It's about removing regulations, and then all the red tapeism that is involved in doing business in Nigeria. So that's a good aspect, but that's as good as it gets. The other aspect, and it's not just the Christian Association of Nigerian Churches also, civil society organizations, NGOs have also been up in arms with regards to the bad CAMA, and that is the fact that, there is anger that what has once been rejected, on the floor of the National Assembly was surreptitiously, brought in through the back door under, Section 839, subsections 1 and 2 of this law. Of course, we know of the attempt in the first, the previous administration before it came back to power to stifle public, opinion, and that is the way the civil society organization saw that, and it was shut down. That bill itself was shut down, because there was this groundswell of, opposition to which people felt that it was antithetical to our democratic ethos. It was not in conformity with the laws of the land and was unconstitutional. And so it died a natural death. So for them, to sneak this in again through this process, I think is something that has been viewed with a lot of opprobrium, something that did not go down well with, churches and then, civil society organizations. Obviously, what, the law says is that, it intervenes, in the activities of some of these organizations, making it possible for the trustees, for instance, of these organizations or religious bodies to be set aside to have a court-appointed, person, administrator, to administer the affairs of a purely spiritual organization, and then, of course, for civil society. So, essentially, this is what the whole thing is all about. They want to, according to them, know how the finances of some of these organizations and churches, are being handled. Again, the argument has been that the government does not add one single kobo, to fund some of these organizations. So why are they exactly interested in how these organizations, run themselves? Of course, we all have a government. Again, you don't. It is said that a good general does not open up so many battlefronts at the same time. The government is already fighting with, struggling with the NDDC crisis, the refineries that do not generate any fund, and yet they expend about 100 billion naira a year. Same thing with the NSITF, scandal, corruption everywhere, in virtually every ministry, department, and agency of government. You have one kind of, corruption going on. The government and then the three branches of government are also not immune from corruption. And all of a sudden, the government now wants to take this upon itself. So maybe, a saying, that would apply to the government would be, physician, first heal thyself. It's like the kettle calling the pot black, if that is the purpose of this whole controversy.
Well, I would like you to help us clarify something. NGOs register with CAMA. And if they are registered with CAMA, that means, in a sense, they are creations of the law. I get your point that this is, some people say this is an attempt to smuggle in the NGO bill through the back door. But are we saying that NGOs and churches are infallible? Because what Section 839, subsections 1 and 2, try to address is the fact that, look, there could be misconduct in the management of these entities. They could be managed in a fraudulent manner. There may be need for public interest intervention. So when churches say CAMA cannot, CAC cannot intervene, and NGOs say, look, leave us alone, are they saying that they are above the law?
No, I do not think that they want to, that is the point they are trying to make. That is definitely not the point they are trying to make. But in this country, we are so used to, if we want certain examples that favors, the dominant government of the day, we tend to look at what is going on abroad. And then we want to bring it back here in Nigeria. And I'm not aware, I know that over there in some of the developed countries of the world, that government does a lot of things in terms of trying to solvent some churches and even NGOs. They give them a lot of money because they believe that these are partners in progress, that they are all working towards the same purpose, and that some of these organizations, churches, NGOs and so on, are actually small governments on their own, taking over responsibility of the government. So we don't do that. It's like you talk about taxation in this country too. The only kind of taxation we know in Nigeria is, increased taxation. But nobody knows that taxation could be a monetary, from a fiscal, perspective, can be used also to, inflate an economy by making sure that you reduce taxation in Nigeria. For the good of the society and to stimulate the economy. So it's easy. One can make, all these arguments here and there. The reality is that some of these organizations have been involved in all kinds of social welfare services. Hospitals have been built. There's no doubt about that. You have, motherless babies homes that have been set up, by some of these churches. So what you would expect is that if you want more responsible behavior, for instance, by the churches, kind of a social contract between the churches and the societies that they are catering to, you try to get into discussions with some of these organizations and try to get them, to also be more socially responsible, build up more schools and all of that. These are the things that help, especially when you have a failing, public education system in the country. So nobody is saying that they are not, that they should be above the law. The good thing about it is that I think the spokesman of the House of Representatives, Benjamin Carlos, said recently that, look, they recognize the fact that laws are made on behalf of the public. And so if there are some members of the public that feel strongly about certain issues, that they can bring these issues before the National Assembly and make their case so that, for the purpose of hopefully amending some of these offensive aspects of the law. And this is what is expected of leadership,
Well, thank you very much, Achike Chude, for joining us today on The Morning Show. We look forward to hosting you again some other day. Thank you very much indeed.